We have Clint. He's a Magic streamer, friend of both of ours, playing against. I don't know Clayton. I don't think, but Clayton is on Murktide. Um, One thing that I do know is right when looking at the pairings, that Clint's first words were, "Oh crap, I'm playing against Burn."
Yeah, he thought he was against Burn. So, not Burn. I'm not sure if he'd prefer this matchup to Burn. I think a little bit.
Probably.
Probably.
So
probably
so talk
better.
about the YoRhinos deck. Let's come back to us while the players get ready to go. What is this deck?
Yeah, so Clint is playing YoRhinos. So, typical crashing footfalls. Obviously, adding 20 extra cards with Yorion. The big reason to add this now is leyline binding. Previously, you could add white and go Yorion for these builds. You get Ardent Plea, obviously access to Yorion and a few more grindy cards.
Sure.
But leyline binding really makes a difference as just like a catch-all for this deck.
Well, so one thing that is interesting is Solitude was you could play all the pitch elementals in the deck before, but now you can cast Solitude is basically
Yeah, Solitude's super castable. But yeah, we have all the free spells here. We have well, not Subtlety, poor Subtlety. We have Solitude, Endurance, Fury, and Force of Negation, and that's a big draw to this deck. You just get to play a lot of premium interaction.
It looks like I don't see giants and. Am I crazy? I
Yeah.
don't see like giants
Nope.
and none of the
No
none of
Bone
the
Crusher,
splits.
one Brazen Borrower.
One Brazen Borrower. Okay.
Yep, one Borrower, one Dead Gone. Yeah, you don't really need giants when you have the pitch elemental removal.
Cool.
You have a bit more interaction elsewhere in the deck as well.
Let's go. It looks like they're making the announcement right now. What do you kind of expect players to be prepared for coming into this event? We're kind of entering a different era of Modern now that Leyline Binding is here. It changes the type of removal that the $4 color decks can even play.
I'm expecting people to not know how wild Leyline Binding stacks are. Binding your binding to get my card back at instant speed is wild and creates some crazy interactions.
You think players just won't be ready?
I think those interactions are complicated, and when you start getting to like Yorion my binding out and take something else, like Yorion binding, like if you have a legend or a planeswalker under a binding and then you get a blink it and they lose like their second copy and then you come in and eat the other one or eat a different target, it's pretty sick.
So today we learned that Aaron has no faith in players. I think players know that Leyline Binding is going to be messed up today. But if they're expecting the same 4-color decks that Yorion was actually starting to beat before this set came out, I think you might be surprised.
Yeah, I think bindings are new. The other thing that I'm expecting a lot more of, just as we continue with this RCQ season, is just more creativity. That deck's quite good.
I think that deck just dumpsters. Just dumpsters the 4-color deck.
There's some play to it, but it's definitely not good. It's definitely heavily favored. And then the other thing, the grinding breach deck that Corey Baumeister's been playing a lot. Mm-hmm. I talked to a lot of players coming into this event that really liked the deck. They were worried about how many reps they had on it, but I expect to see several people on it today. Cool. It's very powerful.
Nice. I actually don't know that deck, so I'm excited. I hope.
All right, cool. Well, we're gonna
learn.
We're gonna Underworld Breach infinite combo basically.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. All right, players do look like they're looking at their hands. We'll go back down. Let's see if we can catch a glimpse of either. I think both players kept. Looks like I see Ledger Shredder.
Notably, the only Ledger Shredder. He's on 1 today.
1 Ledger Shredder. Is that a Fairy Conclave? What is his?
It might be an Otawara.
The land on the front is that. Oh, it's. I'm sorry. That is a. That is a. It's not the card I thought it was either. What is that?
I thought it was. When he fanned his hand, I thought it was a Flooded Strand. It might be.
That's what I thought it was after he fanned his hand again, but it can't be that. Okay.
That really looks like a Flooded Strand.
It really does.
Hopefully, he didn't register the wrong fetches. But yeah, interesting build here for the Murktide deck. Obviously, you have a lot of flex slots in this deck. We've seen a lot of Blood Moon's main deck. He's actually opted to put those in the side.
Hey, I'm gonna make the real homie move. If this event hasn't started, I'm gonna stop him. Well, that was confusing. All right, so there is no Flooded Strand on that side.
Is it up? Yeah.
We do have a leading on fetch lands for both here.
Yeah, Clint being on the play here is pretty big as well. Not having to deal with the turn one potential of Ragavan Go is huge. Rhinos has a lot of interaction, but it doesn't necessarily have a lot on turn one or want to 2-for-1 itself.
Yeah, one of the major problems with Rhinos that is like if you were on the draw and didn't have 4/4s early, you were usually pretty far behind.
Yeah, definitely not good. Notably, Clint also opted to cut this morning, because this is a handwritten change on his deck list, to cut the second Dead Gone for a Brazen Borrower, which is notably worse on turn one. Such a Triome. You do see that's actually the black Triome. He doesn't have any black cards in his deck, but that's the 5th color for binding.
Nice.
Really all in on this 1 mana binding. Just something that you see in the 4-color decks as well. Sometimes some people have been playing an off-color Triome just to get the absolute cheapest binding.
Early Monkey here is kind of tough to answer unless he has. I mean, I guess binding does it if he has a Triumph.
Yep, that'll do it. That's 5. Making itself known. Turn 2 binding. With a tap land.
I think that when I said like we're gonna see bindings and they're gonna be better than people expect.
Yep.
This is what I meant.
Yeah, it's definitely really good. Second Ragavan. All
Dashed. Right. We have an attack.
The Fire Ice answers the Ragavan. That's a tough hit.
Treasure token coming down.
Clint now at 16. It's like Clint has a Fury in his hand.
Oh, those are missing too. I just realized the dice aren't there either. We will get that fixed between games.
Interaction that Clayton can have here. He does have 2 Spell Pierces. Main deck. Stuff. Fetch and pass here from Clint.
We have dream jobs happening in the background, in case people are wondering.
All right, what does Clayton have in his hand? Looks like he drew a Bolt. Still has a Ragavan. Yeah, one notable thing about binding too is that the dashed monkey is a little bit worse against 4-color. Traditionally, it's been pretty good dodging Fury and dodging Renpings. 4-color having a little bit more interaction.
Down to 13 here for
Clint. Try to make some Rhinos.
Actually, a good time to make the Rhinos as the Dash Monkey brings it all the way down to 1 mana. Basically just worried about Spell Pierce here, which there are 2 Spell Pierces.
Yeah, he's playing 2. He has a blue 1-drop. I think it's Consider. Yep. That monkey is hitting the bin.
Yeah, that monkey just got Harambe'd. Took a Rhino to the knee, really.
So options here. I mean, he can. What do you think about bolting the Rhino here?
I would bolt the one, at least the one that got blocked. Yeah. Looks like that is what's going to happen too.
And this is why the Rhino deck's powerful. I mean, two 4/4s on turn 3. One of them already got a 2/2 or a 2-for-1, and he still has a 4/4. It's not easy for the Murktide deck to deal with.
I don't know if Clayton had Counterspell in his hand, but having that island and not playing it pre-combat might have been a small mistake.
There's the Consider. Yeah, I definitely think playing your lands pre-combat can matter a lot. It's not like Ragavan can play a land. So, ooh, and there's the Spell Pierce.
Yeah, I mean it definitely would have mattered.
Would have mattered. He would have been able to Spell Pierce the Footfalls if he had played the land pre-combat.
That's rough.
That is rough.
All right, we have Spell Pierce again. Oh, he's taking the counter spell though. I also
I think that
did
was
he,
a land.
I think that's a land also. Yeah.
Snow covered island.
We have these awesome skylights here at Game Grid, and I've asked Jordan to let me cover them, and he said, "No, you can't cover my skylights."
So the Murktide here is actually not fantastic. Clint bought Yorion last turn, so if he has a land, he can bounce that binding and hit the Murktide, which is going to be pretty brutal.
Which really goes to talk about what I was saying earlier, where I think that people will expect their Murktides to be a lot better against these type of decks than because they used to be. Like they used to be the best card in the whole matchup, and binding really changes that.
Interesting. Into a 7/7 Murktide.
And we take it. I believe that puts we have 2 fetches, right? So, or no, just 1 fetch.
Oh, there's the fetch. Oh, this is a good turn.
Yeah, it looks like Clint's gonna pull away on this specific turn.
Yeah, I'm expecting basic island here. A beautiful Lorwyn basic island. Clint loves Lorwyn. He loves the fairies. All right, here's Yorion. We're gonna eat the Murktide with that binding, giving a Ragavan back and drawing a card with Omnath. Not as powerful of a Yorion as you see in the 4-color decks, but obviously this is still a ton of value. Yep. Make sure that monkey gets back in.
I'm a little surprised to see no block when you knew that he had Yorion in hand.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of cards that punish here. That was a 7/7 Murktide. Clint obviously can't have Bolt in his deck with Cascade. So really, there's not a ton that punishes him there. Dead Gone, Fire Ice don't do it. Did he play a tap land before playing the iteration?
Yes.
Notably a very small channeler now that Murktide has eaten that graveyard. So Heat, Bolt, Counterspell.
Lightning. Oh, you already said the lightning bolt.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the last card is.
It looks like a Murktide.
Yep.
All right, they're gonna eat both of those, and then we're gonna
call it a game.
Yep. Might have even just been lethal, to be honest. All right, we will
the dice up so we can more easily track life.
Yeah, and we will be right back. All right, they are going to use the companion app, which, you know, it's probably better, probably easier to see for the viewer. Shuffling up here.
Oh, app's great.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. That it probably will be better for the viewer anyway.
Yeah, it's great.
Bring an extra phone moving forward.
Good idea. All right, what are we expecting board here?
So I think that one thing I want to call it, Clayton being back on the 2 Blood Moon, not the split, I think is correct. I would.
He does have a Magus as well.
Oh wow, he has 3 of them. I don't think that this version is as set up to beat Blood Moon as the other ones.
Clint has 2 Besajus. Obviously, you don't get a float mana with Leyline Binding, right? Like as soon as Blood Moon's down, that binding is going to cost a lot of mana.
Right.
You can't do the cheeky float and then kill it. So that's definitely something to consider. Clint only has 2 Besajus. He's playing just four basics. One of them's a mountain, though. All right, so early channeler here.
Yeah, and I expect Endurance to come in for.
They moved the phone. It was perfect.
Well, we'll get that corrected for the future. Apologize to the viewer.
All right, so 17 for Clayton. A quick fetch and pass for Clint. Let's see, other things. I mean, Clint does have Wear Tears. I'm not sure if he'd bring those in for the Moons. He also has Force of Vigor. Probably bringing in those 4 Disputes and the 3 Endurances, I would expect. Clayton said, obviously, we talked about the Blood Moons. He does have a Force of Negation as well. What do you think about Jace in this matchup? You want to bounce some Rhinos?
I like Jace the Mind Sculptor against any of the 4-color decks. I've been known to bring it in myself.
Yeah, definitely. The traditional 4-color decks obviously play like a longer grindy game. Rhinos can just kind of run you over sometimes, but
they don't have haste.
They don't have haste.
One thing that I also have been boarding in was actually Subtlety in the matchup. I don't actually know if I like Subtlety in this matchup.
He might bring it in because he did see the Omnath game 1. Obviously, hitting an Omnath's a big tempo swing that can matter a lot, but it is a little awkward to be looking at the Subtlety and staring down Rhinos. My not a creature creatures.
Yep, we're binning that. We'll put us to a 3/3.
So is this Steam Vents? Is that a Murktide?
The 4/4 Dragon Rager's Channeler really means that Clayton's trying to be aggressive. Like he's
it's still a 1/1. No delirium on that. It's 2 lands. Right?
Oh, for some reason I thought one of those was a.
Yeah, he needed to find a bobble there.
Yeah, I thought one was a bobble.
And he did just exile the Murktide. That is rough. Obviously, turn 2 iteration, notably not as sweet as turn 3, where you can always play that land. Miss on the bobble, like you said, Spencer. You might have been going for the aggro channeler here.
Yeah. Getting basic forest really heads up play there by. I mean, I also only had the Jessica land in play, but I still like it.
Yeah, he's got the 4 types. Obviously, setting him up for a Besaiger to protect him from a moon. Taking less damage at 17. Interesting. Ice the Steam Vents rather than killing the Channeler. Attempting to kill the Channeler, I suppose.
It's possible that did Clint not have a land? Oh, he has 2 fetch lands in hand.
Yeah, Clint could have killed the Channel on his turn if he wanted to kill it. So he's choosing to ice the Steam Vents. Maybe Clint thought he was land light, and that's why he played the iteration on 2, just to be mana efficient. If you do expect to miss a land drop, obviously tapping the Steam Vents to prevent interaction for a Cascade spell here. All right, fully committed to playing around the Blood Moon. We find the plains. So now with the 2 basics, I mean, Leyline Binding is going to cost 3 through a moon, even if Clint doesn't find another basic at all.
He's basically
very
unlocked
affordable.
Complete Blood Moon protection here.
Yeah, and Blood Moon loses so much value against these 4-color decks if they have the fetches and have time to set up. I mean, sometimes you can get some wins. It's also just a lot of removal that
I think that he's gonna have Rhinos now. Nope. Trigger on the Channeler. Or we could forget to.
Oh, missed.
Yep.
Could be big, turning that Channeler into a 3/3. The Heat. Looks like Clayton is gonna miss a land drop. Is that two Murktides, a Heat?
I kind of like
a
heating,
moon, and a dispute.
I kind of like heating and then just playing Murktide. Heat, try to get the aggressive.
Yeah, you might be able to mill the creature or mill another spell for Murktide. Right now, 3 spells in yard.
Right, and it will also make the Murktide pretty big. Obviously, you have to do that post combat, otherwise you lose your 3/3. But I don't know. Oh, we could be seeing. Is there another iteration hand that I missed?
Just jamming the Murktide.
Ooh.
Okay, so he's keeping the heat up, notably now smaller. We got a 6/6 Murktide. Also representing dispute here. There's that Dispute for the Teferi.
I remember that time.
Yeah, getting rewarded here for taking the more conservative line. Bobble. That's a good find for the channeler.
And it's specifically not a land next turn, which is probably good too. It's actually a pretty huge dispute. There's a lot of draws that you could see.
Yeah, and the fact that Clint didn't do anything else to clear the Murktide here probably doesn't have a subtlety. We haven't been able to see his hand. Keeping that one pretty tight. But I would expect if he did have a subtlety to clear the Murktide there. There's the moon.
We're going to see a cracked fetch land here. I expected to just go get...
He already has the plains.
Well, is that... Did he have Bolt in hand?
Clint?
Yeah.
He
can't even play Bolt.
He can't play
What is the reason to leave up a mountain? What I'm saying is I just expect him to go get the black...
Omnath. Yeah, so if he can clear the moon, then having the fetch in play later for Omnath.
Oh, sure, that's fair.
It also saves a point of damage up front. That's another fetch land. Looks like Clint has a Temple Garden, a Wooded Foothills.
I thought he had 2 Arid Mesas at the beginning of last turn.
Excuse me. Saving life on that Temple Garden. Thanks, Blood Moon. It's the little things in life.
You know, those Blood Moons looked really bad because Clinton played so heads up, and it's awkward because like you had the aggressive draw that you would want with Blood Moon.
And he actually just overtapped for that binding.
Yeah, it should only cost 3.
Yeah. Notably, that moon was cutting Clayton off of counterspell mana as well. He only has 1 basic island.
Trigger leaving on top.
Interesting.
What could it be? Untap, draw here. Didn't see it. Ooh, looked like a binding.
So binding the Murktide. Now we have binding for the moon. We'll see if he pays the correct amount of mana this time for it. Yeah, and Clayton does have that counterspell and does not have...
Ooh, Fury.
The double blue, yeah. Blood Moon is mostly free, but not always. You can see there he does have the counterspell. That was a costly moon for Clayton to not have the land drop.
I'm a little confused.
What did he draw that he kept on top?
It looked like another... It was either the Murktide or the Ragavan. But obviously the Ragavan can't get through this Fury. That is a consider. I do expect to see this dashed.
Clint has another ley line binding. He's thinking about this Ragavan.
If you let the Ragavan hit, which it looks like he did, now
that treasure
unlocks counterspell.
Yeah, it unlocks the counterspell, but I mean that still leaves the Fury in play. Not that he has an answer to the Fury right now, but it might not be the biggest deal if Clint's next spell gets countered if Clayton can't find an answer to the Fury. Turns out 6 damage at a time is a lot.
It's really how I win all my 4-color games. Is just
killing people with Fury.
It's just killing people with Furies.
It closes shockingly quickly for how efficient it is. Not sure why they decided it needed to be a 3/3 double strike, but hey, at least Endurance has a 4th toughness to trade with it, right? Alright, we're dropping the Blood Moon. Picked it back up. So choice here is obviously looking... You can consider for a land or just pass with the counterspell up. Consider for the land is quite risky. just because you need the exact basic. Okay, so we're gonna bind the Ragavan. Oh, no.
What?
What's happening? Was he trying to ban the Ragavan, or was it after Ragavan bounced? I'm a little confused here. Okay, so it looks like after Ragavan bounced, he's trying to bind the Blood Moon. Clint has a Teferi in his hand, so that would be a big resolve if he could. And again,
I mean, we're pretty close to dead here.
yeah, that Fury is gonna chunk in. Clint didn't exactly need his next spell to resolve, so as long as that Fury is remaining in play, not a whole lot else
Green
matters.
2 for.
Is it an Outburst? Outburst, there's an extra 2 damage, and Rhinos.
That would be lethal. He had. Oh no, because we had two fetches plus a shock. If only, Clint, you had not moved your app.
Get some tape on the table phone in this section, please. All right, let's making some Rhinos. Yeah, it's nice. Violent Outburst actually having text here compared to Living End, where you're not pumping it.
And there we go. That will do it. Clint will take down this round 2-0. We'll bring Clint back here for
Leyline Binding coming in clutch.
A quick winners interview with Aaron.
All right, winners interview here with Clint.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. Can everybody hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
How excited were you about that matchup?
I was.
Can't see you.
Oh, do I need to flip it?
Yeah, that transition.
All right, now we're here. Yeah. What did you think your opponent was on?
Burn.
All right. How happy were you to see?
Very happy.
Fire Bluff Dragon's Rage, totally different matchup.
I was like, oh yes, it's not Burn.
Yeah. So, tell us about the deck you're playing.
Playing YoRhinos. YoRhinos.
80 cards.
Oh yeah.
Why 80 over 60?
Just because I hate 4-color, but wanted to play a deck that has a clock.
Yeah. I mean,
I just wanted to be able to kill people relatively quickly. So.
Fair enough. All right. Well, Rhinos certainly stomp people out.
Yes.
Crush them under Rhino hooves. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Leyline Binding, the new addition to the deck.
That was like MVP that game.
Pretty sick bindings in that matchup. Obviously, Clint and I are good friends. We talked about it before. The way that Leyline Binding interacts with Murktide is not positive for Murktide.
No.
Murktide, the card and the deck, both very good against both. But yeah, obviously, you had the turn 2.
Yes.
The turn 2 binding off of the five
so
color
good.
triomes, for the Ragavan. And then your very explosive turn with Omnath and the Yorion to move that binding. Spencer and I talked about that. Very very impactful, and having the extra answers in the Cascade deck early is pretty clutch.
It's not always clear. I was trying to think do I just play Yorion there, shock and Yorion, draw a card, but I think it's just there's not a ton of upside to it, right? The big power of Omnath is obviously playing a fetch and
yeah,
double casting.
We weren't able to see your life total, but we were pretty sure that Fury was.
Oh yeah,
gonna
Fury was
put
doing
in a
work.
lot of work. One of the things that Spencer and I were discussing, obviously, Claxton with the Blood Moon put himself on 1 blue source.
Yeah.
And 2 mountains.
Yeah.
How did that impact your decision making as far as forcing counter spells?
I was just I'll just jam it, right? Just throw it out there, and I thought about taking the Ragavan for a second there, but didn't. I think the higher upside is just taking the Moon, cracking a fetch, and then having I had Teferi and I had a Shardless. I was trying to show my hand a little bit so you could see it, but
yeah, it's hard to see. Yeah, we were talking about that. We weren't sure where that binding was pointing.
Yeah.
At first, then the Ragman obviously went back to the hand. We're okay, we're hitting the Moon, and yeah, if he counterspells it there, he's out of mana.
Yeah, and
if he doesn't, then you get a jam into Teferi. You're in a pretty commanding position.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So yeah, what are you expecting for the rest of the day? What decks are you expecting to see? Anything fun, new, surprising?
I think Breach. I know there's a few people on Breach.
Yeah, we talked about it. Kind of the hot new deck on the scene.
Yeah.
Why didn't you play Breach today?
Because I haven't played it enough.
Yeah,
I feel like it's just easy to mess up on.
It seems very easy to mess up.
It's so punishing to forget a connive trigger. I play a lot of Moto. It's oh yeah, I don't have to worry about my triggers. And then paper, you're oh yeah, Clayton actually got annoyed that he missed a couple
we
DRC
saw that.
shredder or triggers, and I was just yeah, sorry, it's unlucky. So
yeah, that deck seems kind of punching. It reminds me a little bit of the Emihayashi blue deck. It seems like if you make a mistake,
it's just like really punishing.
It's over. Yeah, you don't have a lot of margin for error on some of these decks that are difficult to play and maybe a little bit light on threats or the ability to grind if you misplay.
Yeah, like everybody talks about how like Breach like can win like a fair game. It's like, yeah, but like you're Murktide without Murktide, right?
I feel like the games that the Breach wins a fair game involve turn 1 Ragavan, Mox Amber, something else.
Exactly. Right?
I'm not sure that counts as a fair game.
And then you're like Shredder Bobble.
Yeah. Just kind of do the thing.
With the Saga, of course, on turn 2 as well. So you're just like, I got everything.
Saga's powerful. Yeah, the deck's very, very strong. A little bit more susceptible to more types of interaction than like the traditional Murktide lists. Obviously, you can combo and do powerful things.
Yeah.
Any other decks that you're expecting to see a lot of today?
I don't expect a lot of 4-color. I didn't really look around too much. Creativity has really gotten a lot popular as well. I know some people are on that, but I don't want to see Living End.
Fade the Burn matchup. Fade Living End.
I mean, Burn's not unwinnable. It's just so annoying, right? Like, I don't really have very many good cards versus them, but
nobody wants to play against
Living End. I think is really rough. They just like win the game when they do their thing. I just kind of like dirtle for a few turns.
You're like, here's some power. Like, well, we will clear that and put in a bunch of extra power. Yeah. You do have the pitch elementals. Probably changes it a little bit. I know my record on 4-color against Living End is quite good. I beat it like 3 times in 1 RCQ.
Yeah, just like Pitch of Solitude super early, right?
Pitch of Solitude,
to their grief.
And eventually your graveyard gets big enough that they can't really Living End again. You're getting too much value. So maybe if you run into Living End, you can set up some board states.
I played against it twice online. I won both times, but I felt like kind of lucky, I think. Like I drew the one of Endurance, like game 1.
Do you have 1 Endurance main deck?
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
One Endurance main deck, 3 in the board. All right, we're prepared for Living End.
I mean, it's prepared as my deck does. So
you can pay full price, no discount for Mystical Dispute.
Glad I didn't put my mind games in the board.
The mind grind.
The mind grind.
Want to Cascade Sheath?
Yeah.
Some
tilted
players,
from losing to Belcher.
Yeah, Clint did lose to Belcher in the finals of an RCQ. I don't know what losing in the finals of an RCQ is like, but
no.
I hope that you can take this one down today. Any last insights into the format?
No, Modern's pretty fun sometimes. Pioneer's pretty good though. I like Pioneer.
All right, are you ready for Elves to take it down?
What?
Elves won the store championship we played at last night.
Oh my gosh, yes. I didn't lose to him though. This guy did, so it's
did.
not on me.
Forest Walk Lord got me twice. Unblockable 15U. I'm like 15 on 4-color. I'm like, okay, I'm dead exactly.
But
all right, well, thanks, Clint.
Thank you.
The interview. Congrats on the win. Good luck the rest of the day.